Welcome to another edition of Over It with your host, Michael English. On today's show, we have former Sports Illustrated Swimsuit Senior Editor, Diane Smith. Try saying that 3 times fast. She stops by to explain to me how deep the deep end really is.
I'm your sandy-bottomed host, Michael English. And in case you've been living under a rock in a forest during a snowstorm, the Sports Illustrated Swimsuit Issue is published annually, and it features female fashion models, celebrities, and athletes wearing swimwear in various locales around the world. The highly coveted cover photograph has been considered the arbiter of supermodel secession. Well, I have to succeed to the queen of all things that are sacred and pure, the former editor-in-chief, the dance commander, not an innocent bystander, but the queen bee in charge for 13 covers and most of its contents. Diane Smith, welcome to the program.
Well, thank you, Michael.
We made it.
We made it. Here we are.
Wow.
Okay.
To start off, I have a group of questions that are like a day at the beach. Chill and relaxed, something you're used to, but apparently a day at the beach wasn't very chilled and relaxed. I hope you're very calm and relaxed.
I'm very calm and relaxed, yes.
Okay.
Thank
Calm and relaxed to the left? Not if you're calm.
Yeah.
Okay. These first questions, I would like you to just give me an initial response to. The first thing that comes to your mind, if you will. Diane, what was the first thing you thought about this morning?
The first thing I thought about was what word I'm going to start with on my Wordle.
Wow.
And I did a really good one this morning. I got a really good one. So,
What was the word?
coast.
Okay. I'm not so sure how to play.
Oh, really?
What do you do with
Well,
words?
you take the first word, you try to get, it's got to be 5 letters, and you try to get as many, you don't want to say
From coast.
treat. You don't want to say T and a T. You have to get as many letters as you can.
I got it. Okay.
And then so the next row, they put which letters you got right in the first.
It's addicting, I hear.
It is. So that's what I think, oh, what am I going to do this morning with my Wordle? And I did coast, and I did a really good job this morning.
What'd you have for breakfast?
I don't have breakfast. Coffee.
Don't have breakfast? Coffee?
I mean, if I have some leftovers, maybe I'll have something, but I usually don't have leftovers because, I don't know, if I have Chinese, I might have the Chinese for breakfast, but usually I just have coffee.
I found a really good Szechuan place on 8th Street the other day. I didn't know existed. It's been there for 20 years. Very hot, very spicy.
Or, if I go to Trader Joe's, they have the best San Francisco sourdough, which is very hard to find in New York.
Ooh.
And it's just like California sourdough. So if I happen to have that, I might have a piece of sourdough toast, but that's not normal.
Well, we're already breaking the rules. I wanted to keep your answers brief and what first comes to your mind.
Okay.
So let's start again here.
Okay.
Who's your favorite artist as of late? Painter, visual artist?
Well, I saw last year an exhibit at the Metropolitan Museum, and there's this female painter, which, it's so nice to see a female painter because you don't see many of them, named Alice Neal. Really amazing painter. And I have to say, I was so impressed with
Large
her.
scale, small scale?
Large scale, pictures of, drug addicts from the East Village, but paintings, beautiful paintings.
Oh. From the 80s then, this woman painted.
Yeah, 70s, 80s, and apparently she had a crazy love life, and she had some boyfriend that burned half of her paintings. But it's very dramatic, the paintings.
Alice Neal.
Alice Neal, N-E-E-L. Great.
I'm going to look that up. What's your favorite scent? It can be a scent in nature or a spray-on.
Well, my favorite fragrance is Hadrian by Anouk Goutel. It's very kind of unisex. It's not sweet. My favorite scent in nature is my birth flower, my Mayflowers, Lily of the Valley. You take 2 twigs, put that in a little water in your whole house.
Do you have some lily of the valley growing by your house?
No, I used to, but I don't have any right now.
We got to get you some.
I steal some in people's yard because it's like weeds. They don't care.
Yeah.
It goes like crazy. So if you pull some out, no
I'll
one
go
cares.
steal some from our neighbors.
Okay.
Put it in my yard, and then. Have you seen any new movies lately? I mean, I haven't been out a lot. I've seen a couple movies, but is there a favorite movie of all time that you just stop and watch if it's on TV or?
Well, I think there's 2 of my favorite movies of all time, which I can't get enough of. One is, crazy enough, Bye Birdie.
Okay.
Because when I was young, I still was like a huge fan of Anne Margaret. And that opening sequence and the end sequence where the wind's blowing and her skirt's blowing and her hair's blowing and, it's like unbelievable sequence. I can't get enough of that one. And then Frank Sinatra, Pal Joey, that's another one of my favorites with Ava Gardner, another person I'm like in love with.
I have some homework to do. I want to go rewatch both of those movies.
Oh, they're so great. And it was in San Francisco, Pal Joey, which is, where I'm from. So that's another thing that I love about it.
One more for my baby.
Mm-hmm.
Favorite cocktail of all time? Speaking of one more, and where do you like to have it?
Well, I like martinis, but I love Lychee Martini. They're hard to find, but when you find them, Lychee Martini is unbelievable. And there's not a better bar in the whole world, Bemmelman's Bar at the Carlisle. But please don't tell anybody because you have to be able to get in, and it's harder and harder to get into Bemmelman's
It's
Bar.
a posh place, but it's also a very selective place, isn't it?
Well, what's happened now is, I don't know how, but there's, the young Upper East Side kids have discovered it.
Oh boy.
So if you get there after 4:30, you're not going to get in. They have actually a red rope with lines of people waiting to get in.
My.
So if you have to.
I consider myself lucky having been there with no red rope or Upper
Well, if
East
you're
Side
there at 4 o'clock, you're
hooligans.
okay. But that's it's always good to start drinking early.
I asked you this earlier and we talked about it, but I'd like to hear it again. Has there ever been an extravagant item you spent money on and said to yourself, my God, I got my money's worth from that and still have it today?
Besides my car. Besides my car.
Besides your
Well, when I was 30 years old, I thought, it's time to buy jewelry. So I found this big chunky gold bracelet on a Madison Avenue jewelry store. And I said, it's the kind that, don't tell me, I'm living in the past, obviously. Greta Garbo, Joan Crawford, they always had their big chunky gold bracelets in their still pictures. So I had to have this big chunky gold bracelet, and it's my first big piece that I bought. And it was the beginning of an obsession, so.
We like obsessions here at
Yeah,
Over It. But listen, the viewers need a little more details about Diane Smith. Life at the Beach, Diane Smith. But as a matter of fact, having spent 13 years editing the world-famous SI swimsuit edition, it's ironic you started your life at the beach in sunny California.
It is ironic because I couldn't wait to move to New York and leave California because I hated the beach. I hated the sun, I got sunburned, and here I am living on the beach. But, I thought...
That dream, by the way, of moving to New York was not just to move here. You wanted to be the guest editor of Mademoiselle.
That's right.
How did that dream manifest?
Well, when I was a painting major in college, and there's not a lot of future for a painting major unless you get a good gallery, and that's a tough one too. So, I always loved fashion, so I applied for this Mademoiselle guest editorship, and won. They came.
How does that? It's a contest.
You send your artwork. I sent my, if you're a writer, if you're a photographer, if you're whatever you do, you send it in. And the next thing I know, they said, we're sending a Mademoiselle editor to meet you at your college. So Fern Malice, she went on to take the New York's fashion. She made the whole New York fashion very important. Well, Fern Malice was working at Mademoiselle at the time. She came to California, to Santa Barbara, and to meet me just to make sure that, I was, I guess, presentable.
Did you go back to Santa Barbara ever and relive memories?
No, I don't. No.
I've never been. I'm going there for the first time in May. Any tips? Anything to look out for?
Lots of good Mexican food.
Okay.
But, when you live, it's kind of the perfect place that after 4 years, you just can't wait to leave because it's too perfect.
So let me get this straight. In junior high school through high school, all you could do is dream of being an editor for a fashion magazine, Mademoiselle in particular.
Right.
You subscribed to it. You were probably the only dorky kid in a classroom full of surfers, right?
Oh yeah, I was fashion, I had to keep it kind of secret because it's kind of was, not the most popular thing to be, to love fashion. And in fact, when the midi came in, because Mademoiselle had all the midi skirts, so I got my midi skirt and I wore it to school, and the Dean of Women called my mother and had to bring me home because the midi skirt was getting too much attention at the school.
That's the stuff movies are made of. So this high school, was it talented? Was it gifted?
It was a great school. It was almost like it was prep. It was,
college prep?
Yeah, it was a college prep school. It was a brilliant school, and Steve Wozniak was in my class. Steve Jobs was a couple years.
Couple smarty pants.
Yeah, and I did science. I actually did science things with Steve Wozniak. I remember we might have dissected a frog or a
And here's you getting thrown out of school for wearing a midi skirt.
midi skirt. You know, think about that. We used to dissect frogs.
Oh, yeah.
And
Disgusting.
and little baby pigs. I'm sure they
Feral
don't do
pigs,
that
I
anymore.
had to do that too.
I mean, I think about that now, like, oh my God, I can't believe
Very,
we did
very
that.
savage.
Yeah, I mean, really. I mean,
Listen.
I won't eat a pig, and then here I am dissecting one.
Envision it and it will happen. Boom. You get asked to come here.
That's right. I got. You know, I came as a guest editor for the summer. You work on the college issue, and then they said, go back, graduate, come back, we'll find you a job, and that's what I did. So.
And if I get this straight, you came back guns blazing for Condé Nast, right? First you would stop at Harper's.
No, Harper's was later. That
Later?
was, yeah.
So I got the order wrong. Self, Glamour,
Mademoiselle first.
Mademoiselle.
Harper's Bazaar next.
Yeah.
Self, Glamour,
Then SI.
and then SI.
That job would take you right back to the beach, literally, for 13 more years.
That's right.
And a lot of air miles.
A lot of air miles, a lot of sleepless, sleepless nights, because, it all sounds so glamorous, which, I have to say, we did stay in beautiful places, but, you would travel 4 days to get to some tiny little island in the Philippines, and you'd get there at 11 o'clock at night, unpack, fit the models, and be on the beach at 3 in the morning. You always had to be at the beach, or wherever you're going to be.
For the magic
in
hour.
the dark.
For the
Yeah, exactly. So, it was great, but, sleep
Very
was not,
rarely got to see beyond your...
sleep was not important at that point, so.
Were there any standout covers that you said, wait a minute, I was part of that, and that's one I will never forget? Like issue, cover, theme. I know they did a lot of themes.
Well, one of my favorite issues was the music issue. And we had, in Beyonce, we did the cover with Beyonce.
Wow.
And we shot her, in Florida. And she was adorable. She was...
Still young at her career, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was, but she was really great. I shot Steve Tyler Aerosmith.
I just saw your
where
necklace.
I got my Dream On from him, from Steve Tyler.
For all your special handling of his needs.
It was, to me, it was like really a strong theme, and it was fun to have something you could, really have a reference to.
Another feature often I found amusing is the sports couples that you would feature.
Yeah, I tried to get them in every issue, because I thought at least that made some reason why it's sports, because you get these letters, what does that have to do with sports? So I thought, I put a couple sports people in that has something to do with sports. But you work with these big football players like Ray Lewis. We went to the Pro Bowl. This big guy, and they were like, puppy dogs. They were so nice. The athletes were.
Any unusual requests from the athletes? Like, I want to pose with an elephant or an anaconda?
No, they were just like whatever I told them to do, they would do. When we did the Pro Bowl, that issue was kind of a gods and goddesses issue. So my friend designed a toga to put on the football guys. But it wasn't just you wrap it, you had to put between their legs and you had to put around. So here I am with these gigantic football guys putting the toga between their legs and around it. But they were like, okay, whatever, they'll do it,
Memories are made of that, Diane. So we've been waxing a little poetic about some of the Sports Illustrated experiences. Were there any fashion moments where you thought, oh my God, this is never going to happen, we're never going to pull this off? And lo and behold, it was one of your best pictorials of the month, or of.
You mean for swimsuit?
Yeah.
Well, it was always a surprise to me, because we never quite knew we kind of played it by ear. There wasn't a lot of planning. The photographers would go a few days before just to get a lay of the land, and then one great story. When we were shooting in Iowa, it was the American issue. We were shooting in Iowa, in this little town in Iowa, Perry, Iowa. And the photographer, he was kind of a young, kind of hippie-ish, cute kid. He went ahead for and he just went onto these farms, like pig farms, cow farms, corn farms,
silos.
And he'd go to the farmers and say, we're going to be shooting for Sports Illustrated. I'm just looking at. So when I got there, the police came to the hotel because they were going to arrest him, because he was like pretending like he was going to be shooting for Sports Illustrated.
Right.
And they didn't believe him, because why would Sports Illustrated be coming to Perry, Iowa?
Wow.
And so I said, no, actually we are shooting in Perry, Iowa. And then the last day that we were shooting there, we were in this farm, and we were the crew was like, we've been in Iowa for 10 days. We never had corn, So the farmer and his wife said, come in the kitchen. They had like 4 dozen corns on the stove boiling for us to give us like the sweetest corn we've ever had in our whole life. And she says, my son is in Afghanistan right now. Could I call him? So she goes, Sports Illustrated Swimsuits in our kitchen right now. And they, oh yeah, Mom, right, I said, yeah, we are, but so you never knew, it was kind of fun because
you were dream makers at that point.
Yeah, you never knew what was going to happen, and we just kind of played it by ear, and it was,
We're gonna jump out of the magazine rack for a second. We'll come back.
Okay.
I just want to ask you some random questions. Do you have a routine? Are you a routine kind of person?
I'm definitely not a routine person.
Mix it up.
Except for watching Jeopardy at 7, I try to fit that into my schedule.
Where is Diane Smith at 7 o'clock? Peanut gallery? How good am I at Jeopardy?
You're pretty 60, 65, maybe.
Okay. Diane, you've been all over this world, Perry, Iowa included. Is there a favorite place you like to kick back and relax?
Yep, there is actually, in my sister's beautiful garden in Northern California. When I'm with my sisters, that's, you just sit back and chill and have like a really good cocktail. Her husband makes great cocktails.
That being said, where's your favorite place to just let it go crazy and let it all hang out?
Well, I don't really do that anymore. I used to.
Are we back at Bethelman's having a Lychee Martini?
But I'll be at Bevelman's. Yeah.
Bevelman's.
Bevelman's, the Carlisle. That's about as crazy as I get these days.
I can't make it past midnight unless I'm being paid. It's really hard. What is the album or soundtrack to your life? Some people say the Beatles, some people say the Rolling Stones.
No, it's hands down anything by Frank Sinatra. But it's Fly With Me album was absolutely perfect because I was flying. But
Come fly with me
in the wee small hours, which is like some incredible ballads. Okay. And I just dream of sitting next to him at the bar having a scotch, like Sinatra's.
You had to have taken the Illustrated to Palm Springs once or twice.
I did actually, once.
And no Sinatra encounter there?
Well, unfortunately we weren't there on a Monday night where he sat at the bar at his favorite restaurant to watch Monday Night Football, which I found out later. If only I knew, I would have scheduled a shoot for Monday, but I didn't, so.
Oh my, I never had the pleasure of seeing him or any of his constituents.
I saw him very, very at the end, at Radio City, but he was not.
It's okay.
Yeah.
At least you saw him.
I saw him, yeah.
What's your least proud of personal trait? And I don't want to put you on the spot, so if you don't have one.
Maybe over cleaning. I mean, a
neat freak
I am a neat freak. I'm a linen freak. The bed has to be perfectly, symmetrical. Mm-hmm. The sheets have to be made sure that the right side is turned down.
Yes. I live with a neat freak.
Okay, so.
And you don't.
So
maybe
that's I don't know if that's a horrible trait, but it's something that nothing I can do about.
Devil's in the details. What's that phrase? Cleanliness
is next to godliness. Yeah, that's my motto. Yeah.
Okay, that's your motto. Diane, Baskin-Robbins called. They want to create a 30-second ice cream flavor using your name and or your flavor suggestions. What would it taste like? What would it be called?
Well, I have to say my favorite of all time is a really good vanilla bean vanilla. I mean, I'm not a chocolate person, I'm not a strawberry, vanilla. So I think maybe if they could do a vanilla Rocky Road, a vanilla with nuts and little marshmallows and maybe even some tiny little bits that like sand, but they're chocolate, like white chocolate, and call it Vanilla Beach.
Vanilla Beach, I like it.
Yeah.
Ooh, I love it actually.
I would buy that. But I think that's a good idea to take a Rocky Road because it's
pulverize, just pulverize
that road. But make it a vanilla, yeah.
Make it like Sandy Rocky Road.
And make it a sandy beach.
Sandy Road.
Sandy Road, right.
All right. Do you have a pet peeve? People that aren't clean?
I don't know. I hate when grown women take their finger and like twist their hair. That's kind of a peeve.
Yeah.
Is that,
you
do many people do that?
At 16 probably, that's what it should start. Elena Bloom, the first transgender cover star. Would say her career is in full bloom right now, don't you say?
I think it's good that they're progressing and they're trying to make a wider definition of beauty.
Absolutely.
I mean, you know, it's beauty is in all sorts of people and types and sizes. So
Well, she actually
it's kind of a good it's good thing that they're doing this now.
Very good. She's on her way to being multi-pronged talent. She's a movie star. She's a cover star. Go.
Yeah, she's beautiful. So you know,
Beautiful.
it's good. It's a good thing.
I had the pleasure of seeing a movie she was in. It actually made it to Cannes Film Festival, and it first played in Cannes, in France, and then it played in our little film festival. I have a little place in Pennsylvania, as do you. And were you there at the opening night?
I was.
So here's 200 of the whitest. They all look like they stepped off of a Grant Wood painting. Like,
Right.
And the whole movie is as dark and as contemporary as a filmmaker could make. I mean, even the way they shot it looked like a documentary. And the crowd was enthralled. Not one person walked out, I don't think. I mean,
it was a beautiful movie. I mean, maybe they didn't understand what was going on. Who knew? I mean, it was like a little subtle in the beginning, you know.
It was very subtle.
And
But she's on her way, and I think the whole magazine, if I read my notes correctly, want to go with a pay with change mandate. In other words, with this inclusion of different shapes and sizes, which they've done most recently, I think.
I think they had to move on. You know, it really had to become more relevant to what's going on now. You know, it's moving to, you know, modern times now and trying to show that beauty is in many shapes, forms, and, you know, genders.
Absolutely. I mean, Tyra Banks was there when she heard the news, when Ms. Bloom heard the news. And Tyra was the first black model to grace the cover.
Right.
These next 6 or 7 questions, Diane, are only for a New Yorker, which you are.
Okay.
You're officially a New Yorker. I don't care if you weren't born here.
I am a New Yorker.
You're a New Yorker. Do you ever find anything on the street, a treasure, and bring it home, and do you have it to this day? Anything you...
Well, I found a lot of pieces of furniture, which I've had done, but one of my favorite things is this beautiful watercolor painting, beautifully framed, that was in the garbage by the Whitney on the side entrance.
Right there off
sitting against the garbage.
Fifth Avenue.
So I picked it up. I don't know if it was an accident that was there, but I still have it.
Do you know who signed it? Do you have a legible signature?
I have to look. There probably is a signature. I haven't really examined it, but it's a beautiful painting.
Don't throw it out. It could be worth a lot.
That's true. I might be able to donate it and get a great thing from it.
Do you ever see people talking on the street? Well, more so these days, but before the cell phone earbud thing, you ever see somebody just say...
Sure, of course. Yeah. We're New Yorkers. We see people walking the street talking to themselves all the time. You know, and it's just like, okay, it's another day at the New York City, you know? Right. They come and they go, you know?
Exactly.
You don't really pay attention.
Do you ever have the classic New York egg sandwich on the street?
Well, I did once, but they didn't use real butter. They used margarine, so it tasted weird. So, but I mean, yeah, I mean, the diner, sure. I'll go to my favorite diner and have eggs, but no meat because I don't like to eat animals.
Can I give you a suggestion? Cream cheese in your scrambled is a really cool choice.
Really?
I've tried it.
Cream cheese and scrambled egg?
Yes.
So I'll try that. Okay.
Not too much.
Yeah. Got it.
Start off light.
Okay.
Do you ever see anybody cry in public here in New York?
Oh, sure. I have many times.
Yeah.
It's sad. You know, you want to go up to them, but you're not sure whether you should or not. Because I remember when I was crying on the subway when my father died, and he wanted somebody to come up to you, but no one wanted to come. You know, they don't know what you're crying about. So, but yeah, yes and yes.
Diane, what's the future looking like? Do you have any projects you want to share with us?
Well, Michael, I actually do have a couple projects.
Do tell.
Funny you ask. I started my little doggie who I lost in December, Louie, but he was obsessed with this little baby goat that my sister was raising. So we went, when I were in California, little doggie Louie, everywhere this baby goat went, there was my little doggie. So I decided, my friend actually suggested, that sounds like a book. Louie and the baby goat. So I started doing little drawings, and I'm going to do about Louie in New York, and then Louie in California meeting the baby goat, and then the goat's going to go on to become to go to the goat farm, and then so that's where the story's going to go. But I'm doing my little book, my children's book.
Louie moves to New York. His friend, the goat, is on the West Coast.
Right.
And what's going to happen with? Are they going to get together at the end?
No, because Louie's going to go on his, and the baby goat's going to become a therapy goat. He is a therapy goat now.
Oh, wow.
And he goes into children's hospitals.
What?
And he's a therapy goat. He really is. So that's where it's going to go,
Louie and the baby goat. I had the pleasure of meeting Louie. Now, do you have a new dog?
Well, I just adopted from the Humane Society a little puppy, little Shih Tzu puppy, who is a puppy. So, yeah, I've got a new puppy. And he's Hugo.
Hugo.
Like Victor Hugo, because Louis was King Louis. So it had to be something French, so it's Victor Hugo.
You are a Frenchophile.
I am.
You're obsessed with
Marie-Antoinette. She got married on my birthday. She, in fact, I have, maybe I'll show you this picture too. When I was 6 or 7 years old for Halloween, I asked my mom, I wanted a thing with a panier, I wanted a thing around my neck, it was Marie-Antoinette's country dress, which I designed, and my mother sewed it.
And how old were you?
Like 7 or 8.
Wow.
Yeah, so I've always had, and then I bought these earrings at an auction that turned out to be Marie-Antoinette's mother's favorite jeweler. So I've had a lot of things about Marie-Antoinette.
And what's the other project? So Louie and the goat, but...
And I'm working on another bathing suit and cover-up line, kind of inspired by the French Riviera, the Italian Riviera, different patterns, and the Italian is kind of Pucci-ish, the French is kind of stretched.
Well, if anybody would have hands-on current knowledge of where the world of beach wear is going.
Yeah, I mean, I have some great ideas, although, retail is not exactly flourishing right now.
Small batch.
Small batches. Yes.
I went into a vintage store in a village the other day, and I looked at what I thought was a coat from 1965. It had the satin lapel, something Frank would wear. And I said, my God, this is in good shape. And then I looked at the label, and the label didn't look vintage at all. It looked like Bonzo or something. The guy said, no, it's this company that's making vintage clothing, but they're only doing 1 or 2 pieces at a time of that fabric. So you can't say to yourself, well, I'm one of 1,000 people that have this vintage coat. Okay, Diane, for the last dozen questions, we're in the home stretch, by the way. You've been wonderful. I hope.
Really?
It went by fast. Right? We want the viewers wanting more.
Okay.
I mean, there's a lot of stories you've told me that we probably shouldn't tell in public.
But I have a lot of Thailand elephant stories, and but that's a whole other story.
Thailand elephant story. Does it start with an elephant or start with Thailand?
Before we went to Thailand, we had a meeting with all the people from Thailand, the consulate. What we want to be respectful.
Rules.
What should we avoid? This is just the one thing we ask is not to have any temples in the background. So I said, okay, that's fine. I said, but it was a sports issue, and I heard that there's going to be elephant polo in Thailand.
How cool.
So I said, hey, we'd love to get some elephants. So they said, oh, no problem. So we go to Thailand. We've been given a guide from Thailand, from the government, to be our escort, whatever. And so we go on the beach. We have this young elephant with a model. And these two little boys, these little guys that actually sleep with the elephants up in the hay, and they're on the beach. And we've got the model on the elephant. And so my photographer takes a couple of Polaroids, gives it to each of the little boys. So the next day, the producer is hiding in his room behind locked doors that he's going to get murdered. And we're like, because, well, you had the model straddling an elephant. The elephant is the silent king. And that was like, you should have never done that, and I'm going to get killed because I allowed that to happen. And the girl that was running the PR girl, she said, oh yeah, they killed. I don't know if we should say this.
But there was an element of danger.
But she said, oh yeah, they would kill anybody here for $50. This is in Thailand. Maybe we shouldn't say that, but.
So let me just backtrack a little. You used a sacred animal in a not so sacred position.
Yeah, but they never told us we shouldn't use elephants. I mean, we were told by the consulate people it was fine.
So now you're fearful that maybe there's some bodily harm coming your way. What do you do next?
And then we went to the elephant polo grounds, and they wouldn't let the models go on the elephant polo grounds with their bathing suits. So in our hotel, there happened to be what they call in Thailand the ladyboys. The ladyboys are the most beautiful women you've ever seen.
But they're boys.
They're boys, but they're called the ladyboys. And they had a team, like they had an elephant polo team. So they all had these black boots and these white jeans, and they let us use them because we didn't have white jeans or black boots. So the ladyboys lent us the white jeans and the boots so the girls could go on, cover it up and then quickly go,
Is that right?
Yes. So, you had to figure things out. You had no choice, And then in Vietnam, there was another whole thing where we weren't allowed to do certain things. The Vietnamese guide would oh, you can't do that, you can't. So we would have to get up in the morning, hopefully before he would get up, so we could do what he said we couldn't do.
Wow.
So, that's part of the job. That was part of the job. Yeah, the swimsuit issue started by accident because in the 60s, there wasn't as many sports going on as there is now. There was football and baseball. I don't think even ice hockey became a thing,
right.
Or even basketball became a thing. So there were certain months where they were struggling. February, March, they're doing things like learn how to, ride a sports car. Or they didn't know what to do. So
dog sled.
Dog sleds, exactly. So one day they were down. This girl happened to be on the beach. They took a couple girls down to a beach and they shot because it was going to be a story about fly fishing. And they happened to have a couple models. They put a model on the cover, and it became so popular. They never had an issue sell like that, ever, with this girl on the, it was a huge thing, a girl on the Sports Illustrated cover. And so that was how the seed of it, and then they just grew it and grew it and grew it. And they, it was the cash cow of Sports Illustrated.
Diane, is there a reason for pounding meat?
I don't know. I don't pound meat because I don't eat it. But I'm sure if you pound it, I guess you want to make it...
Tenderize it.
Tenderize it, I guess. Okay. That would be the reason.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Diane, what's the most abused part of your body? Neglected and abused?
Abused or neglected? Neglected is, I would say, my cuticles. I can't handle them. I don't want them to be clipped. I don't want them to be... They push them a little bit. How's that?
How high do you need to be to make a parachute jump?
I wouldn't make a parachute jump. I'm not that kind of a person, no.
True or false, a pea can last up to 5,000 years?
I'll have to go look at the Met and see if there's one there. I mean, I don't know.
King Tut, maybe?
Maybe King Tut had it in his, or Agamemnon, who knows? They probably had peas back then.
You've been having trouble going to sleep lately. Are you a man or a woman?
No, I'm a woman.
Yeah.
And I do have trouble sometimes. When you start thinking about all the problems in the world,
start counting goats. Goats and...
Oh, yeah, start counting goats, right. That's what I'll have to do. But, there's so many things to disturb sleep these days, but I try. I drink. I have a cocktail. That helps. Yeah, the Adirondacks was a fun shoot.
That's New York State, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. And I did it with my friend Stuart Shining. He did gorgeous pictures there. Gorgeous.
Well, just remember, New York's not just a state, it's a state of mind. And
That's right.
New York's lucky to have you.
I'm lucky to have New York, too. What can I say?
Thank you so much for coming today.
Oh, Michael. Anytime. Anything
Really?
for you. Okay.
And remember, we had joy, we had fun, we had seasons in the sun, but the joys that we would find were only seasons in our mind. Stay positive, test negative. Thanks for watching.
Όλα ακούγονται μαύρα και άραχνα.